All right, so this is our first lecture, and I just want to go over some ideas relating to the idea of kind of wellness, or maybe well-being is a better word. I do like the idea of wellness as a concept. The word itself has become quite fuzzy. There's a lot more kind of connotations, I think. And so this isn't necessarily something, it's not a commodity. It's not necessarily something you can buy. It's this overall sense of kind of holistic, all of our development is together, all of our development is optimal. And the kind of basis of this, especially in early childhood, is that we have good, healthy nutrition. We're taking care of our bodies with movement. Our mental health feels pretty in check. And we also live in a safe house and a safe community. And that's kind of generally the idea of wellness, or maybe well-being. So we're working towards this overall sense over our lifespan. And kind of the key thing behind this is the idea that in the first few years of life, adults have to regulate the children's health, safety, and nutrition, right? An infant can't go out and buy their own formula, or they need somebody to breastfeed or nurse them. At school, they're picked up and take outside. A toddler is taken out to the playground. A preschooler gets taken to the park and play with their family. So we have to regulate it as adults. For many children, a lot of this regulation happens within their family unit. It also happens within the community. So educators, teachers, nurses, pediatricians, we should all be working together. It should be integrated so that we're all working towards health, safety, and nutrition. Because there's going to be many parts to that, right? So if you live in a neighborhood that doesn't have sidewalks, I live out in Fallbrook. We don't have a ton of sidewalks. We don't have a lot of transportation. We have to drive everywhere. And so that impacts people's ability to get to parks, to get outside, that type of thing. So all of that is kind of integrated. Our communities need to be healthy and safe. We ourselves need to be healthy, safe, and have nutritious food in order to go about regulating children. Why are we all working towards this? Because we want children to grow up and have those healthy habits. So let's break it down a little bit more, like cooking. One of the things that we've been studying recently is people who have fairly good cooking skills can at home create more nutritious meals, right? So if you have the knife skills, if you have the ability and access to pay for food, then within your home, if you can cook a little bit, then that also often has good health outcomes. But those don't just start in your 20s. I actually did teach myself how to cook, but my parent by using YouTube actually. But my parents actually kind of set this up much earlier in my life. My mom was a pretty good cook. My dad actually did the majority of the cooking Monday through Friday, and so he will always prioritized having vegetables, having fruit, having a protein, having calcium, and tried to put together food kind of using, at the time it was the food pyramid, now we have a plate, making sure that he prioritized kind of healthier foods Monday through Friday. And then that took me towards kind of having a basic understanding of nutrition. From there, I got into my 20s. I went out into, employment in my own apartment, and then, my relationship and eventual marriage. And from there, kind of using YouTube, I built up my own cooking skills, kind of trying to prioritize healthy meals. And then when I became a mom, that as well. So we kind of need to look at it in a broader sense of how, when we're children, do we set up really good health habits that hopefully will continue to change over our lifespan. So don't eat what I did when I was 18. I was a Taco Bell fanatic at the time. Now in my mid 40s, my diet and how I cook has really changed, but I have those same health habits that my dad kind of instilled in me and my mom instilled in me when I was younger and when I was in their home. So we might want to kind of look at how do adults regulate in the early years in order for children to make good health habits as they grow up and then when they are adults themselves. Why do we want to do this? Because we are growing so much in our first years. It's really kind of before we're born, in the first 3, and then in the first 5 years, that most of our brain development happens. All of those neurons start to make all of these pathways. We get a lot of the kind of cells and the kind of growth in the first couple of years. And so we want to make sure that children hit those developmental milestones. We want to make sure that they're healthy emotionally, that they have the ability to make friends and connect with other people, that they can speak and talk and listen and hear. Cognitive, that's their intellectual development or their brain development themselves. So how are they able to go to school, do well in school, do, reading, writing, and arithmetic. And then our physical skills. How do we do our fine motor skills, which is drawing, using pens and paper, that type of thing. And then our gross motor skills, playing volleyball, kicking a soccer ball around the field, going horseback riding, all of those things are gross motor skills. So we want to make sure that our health, our good nutrition, our health, our movement and our ability to move our body and the safeness within our house, our schools, and our community support these milestones. These milestones and health, safety, and nutrition are completely interrelated. There are a bunch of different circles that all overlap on each other. It would be hard to have physical development if you can't go outside and play outside on the playground or run around on the weekends at the park and the playground. We need to have healthy nutrition to fuel our bodies. So all of these things are super, super interrelated. Why do we do this? Because childhood sets the stage for this. More and more and more and more research finds that this kind of childhood period, especially even before we go to school, we're setting the stage for school success, for the ability to understand health, to have self-discipline, or kind of be able to decide when to do something and to do a little bit of kind of regulating your own self. And then the ability to make good decisions about risky situations, eating habits, understanding the cornerstones and the building blocks of nutrition, and being able to apply that to your life 80% of the time. And then conflict negotiation and having good mental health and the ability to have and develop relationships with your friends, your family, and other people within your community. All of this, once again, is impacted by our health, nutrition, and safety. So our parents and our families and our teachers and other professionals in our lives helping us to learn good health habits, good safety habits, good nutrition habits to set us up so that these developmental periods go as smoothly as possible. Now, some of the concerns impacting this are kind of stress and trauma and things like that. So the more kind of stress we have, the kind of lower socioeconomic status we might be, this and the trauma that we might be exposed to, this can impact our health status over our entire life. More and more, we're learning about adverse childhood experiences, which is kind of trauma, abuse, and other things like that, that impact our cognitive and our emotional and our physical development. So the more adverse experiences that we have long earlier in life will impact our physical health throughout our lifespan. So in addition to setting up for all of these good habits, we also want to take out the adverse experiences. So we want to take out trauma and stress. And this is obviously a community, political, and larger kind of systems around us that will assist us in making sure that children live in safe communities and in safe households as well. But stressors and things like that children might experience when they're really young impact children throughout their lifespan as well. And we'll look into this a little bit more. So all of these things kind of come together to help us to kind of, once again, regulate children and set them up to develop good, healthy habits. And we're going to learn about this more in this health, safety, and nutrition class. We're going to make sure that we kind of in the next couple of weeks that we really dive into the details, and we're going to dive into what kind of makes a healthy experience or healthy environment, what helps us have good nutrition habits, and what makes safe schools, homes, and communities as well. All right, I will see you guys more online. So thank you so much.